What really is important when it comes to senior high graduation?
This episode of the Christian Principles Podcast is brought to you by the Herzog Foundation. And as always, the thoughts and opinions expressed within this episode are those of your hosts and not necessarily of the Herzog Foundation. Welcome to the Christian Principles Podcast. I'm Matt George.
I'm Mark Zockel. Today, I'm dad alone today. Not that that's going to be
Okay.
uncommon in the summertime, but I'm dad alone, and I
I'm
have
dad
the
alone
children.
too.
Oh, nice! This
Yeah.
is my Finn.
Have Finn.
We'll see how long Finn actually sits here before he's going to get down and go wander. But that's fine. When we have our summer days, I don't do well sitting still on those days. I know I should do a good job of being a good dad, a present dad, and all that kind of thing, like all the reels tell me. So I sometimes, especially, I get hit by this cleaning bug, and I'm sure you've seen the reels out there of the steamers. Got myself a steamer. I was playing with Pastor Binkley's during the school cleanup day. Oh, I had a lot of fun with it. So I got one, and I'm steaming everything in this house. This
Steam
house
it
is
all.
dirty. This house is dirty. It's getting steam cleaned today. All of it. No, I'm pumped. It's gonna be a lot of fun. But before we do that, before I have the rest of the day, we're going to talk today about another part of the end of the year, not just the clean out, but another part of the end of the year is the graduation, the commencement ceremony, the senior high, and perhaps, of course, maybe you can translate this to an 8th grade graduation ceremony if you're through 8th grade school. But we are focusing on that traditional senior high graduation. Right? I think that's what we're doing
Yeah,
today.
that's it. That's all I'm focused on.
Before we keep going, we'll hear from the Herzog Foundation and GradeLink, our student information systems. Now, as far as GradeLink, I do want to pause here and note that they have come out with an opportunity for those who partner with them to have a website created by GradeLink. Now, it's not going to be free. It will be an add-on, but it's a dynamic website. These are award-winning websites. I see here that American Heritage Academy is a K-12 school with 632 students, and they have an impressive website that's just scrolling under the GradeLink news. And by the way, when you're with GradeLink, you do have news like this that is part of your LMS that just gets uploaded, including things like quick communication made easy, an article on that, how to write good narrative comments, how to enroll me batch download contracts, an exciting new look for an established school, new district login design. There are lots of opportunities through GradeLink just to get some of that informal professional development as you just log into your LMS, and perhaps even as you log into your website if you go with a new website with GradeLink. But other than that, let's hear from the Herzog Foundation now.
This episode is brought to you by our partners at the Herzog Foundation, whose mission aligns beautifully with ours to advance and support Christ-centered education. The Herzog Foundation exists to catalyze excellence in Christian schools, helping more children experience academic rigor, biblical truth, and strong moral character, all in a safe and nurturing environment. Whether through teacher training, principal development, or strategic media efforts, the Herzog Foundation is committed to helping you, the Christian school leader, fulfill your calling with excellence. Their vision is bold but clear, a national renaissance in Christian education that impacts culture for generations. At the Christian Principles Podcast, we're proud to stand with the Herzog Foundation in that mission. Learn more at herzogfoundation.com. Together, we're building schools and futures on the rock of Christ. And as always, tell them that the fellas here at the Christian Principles Podcast sent you their way.
All right, senior graduation. What should we be caring about? What should we really be focusing our time and attention on?
I think that you were with me in so much that senior high graduation, we know we want to be living in the moment, kind of like I was talking about earlier in the summertime, being with the family. But how difficult is that for you? I guess let's start there. Is that a top priority for you to, okay, I really need to be present here with these students, even though you're double checking the bulletin, you are trying to do a little bit of hobnobbing. And I think that's where this conversation comes from in part, is just where do we set those priorities? What's the big deal? What are the things we have to do?
Yeah, it is a whirlwind, and I will say, especially the first couple of graduations I had, it was a blur because yeah, there's so many things to make sure you get right because you only get one go at it, and it's in many ways it's going to set off what your kids perhaps remember the most about their educational experience at your school. So it's a lot of pressure to make sure you've got everything right, but I don't know what kind of structure you have at a school as if you're able to get many hands in making this event take place, or if it's all on you as the head of school. So I think that's going to definitely change the priorities on how many people that you have to pull the graduation off.
Let's go ahead and make me the genie. I'll grant you a wish, okay? I'm going to grant you a wish. You're going to have the opportunity right now. If in your perfect situation, you couldn't have 500 people like that, let's make it realistic, Genie, not crazy, Genie. Let's say that you had the opportunity to work on graduation with 5 people,
Mm-hmm.
and 5 people who were dedicated 2 weeks out, a week out to that graduation time. Or up to 5 people. What would you do with them? We talked about delegation before. What would be 1, 2, 3 things that you would delegate to them that would allow you to be more present in that moment? Because we've already identified that that's what we really want to do is be there for these students. So what we really want to do is make sure that we are mind, body, soul present with them, if at all possible. Of course, while maintaining an understanding of the safety of the situation and understanding all kinds of things. But what would you do? What would you allow those people to help you with?
So the I think the biggest one that I would look for major assistance with would be in a way a master of ceremony. So not necessarily the MC in the sense of they run the show, but definitely like a wedding coordinator. You have a graduation coordinator, somebody who is aware of all the moving pieces
I like that.
for from start to finish. And I say start, like, prelude, the seating, um, all those kind of things that just kind of works through. I've developed my own ceremony through the years, kind of based on what we've done historically, what I've seen done historically, and getting all of that put in place and then communicated is probably the most work that I have to do when it comes to graduation. So if there were somebody that just knew the drill or worked with me to be able to say, "Hey, do you want to change anything up?" And then, they're getting the flag bearers, they're getting the people handing out the bulletins, they're getting the lineup of the processional, they're reserving the seats. They're, just working through every bit of that ceremony as kind of an event coordinator. That would be a massive burden lifted off of my shoulders.
That's a great answer to have that. I wouldn't call it the master ceremony. I think you did right in calling it the event coordinator, the wedding planner. You need the wedding planner and you need the graduation planner.
Yeah.
What's great though is that person could be a junior mom.
Yeah.
And we've definitely in the past had opportunities to involve the junior parents and basically say, well, remember what you're investing in right now, what you're doing right now is what someone's going to do for your kids. And so there's an inherent desire to make it as awesome as possible. Now, year by year, we get it. If you put that on the back of somebody who's unpaid, it's a volunteer that fluctuates in their willingness to be amazing year by year. And so we don't want our greatest ceremony to be that way. However, if there were very basic things, there were certain rules, right, that certain graduations are played by. I know that flag bearers are older siblings of the graduates, and if there's a if there's a discrepancy there of who gets to hold the flag, because there's multiple older siblings we go with, there's a rule for it. Like, there are certain things that we could put down in rules that somebody else could fill out. It doesn't have to be you. And I think I could go back to that Mark Minkus episode about delegation to say, really, with some 2 hours worth of thought and writing down and form filling out, it could even be electronic, someone else could walk through this, and with the knowledge of the families, with the knowledge of the number of graduates, the families of the graduates. So maybe again, that's someone a little closer to the center of the game board. You probably could have a relatively easily volunteered for position. Someone who's just making a lot of contacts. I like that so much. That's a great thought. And that person's going to meet with you, just like the wedding planner. They're not the ones officiating, but they're the ones, they're there and they're practicing the walk, which you always hear complaints about from the students,
Yeah.
So.
The other thing I would say about that person, I would have a lot more confidence if it was the same person. I know you mentioned a junior parent, but I
Sure,
would love to see somebody that's this is what they do. Like, this is their big thing that they contribute every school year, because then you're really having to work with them kind of maybe one time and then they just know the drill from that point forward, and that's when they become extra valuable. But it's also somebody that is not involved in the ceremony, who can be in the back, who can be, when something goes wrong, they know what to go and grab and switch and keep the ball rolling, so that you're not having to do that up top. But
like the one who's handing
yeah,
out the
I think
the one who
that
hands out
is
the different awards and gifts as you're passing them out, in award ceremonies and whatnot. That person who's there. I think you said my son behind me messing with my wife's popcorn machine.
there he
really,
is,
really
trying to
cute
make
over there in the
popcorn.
corner. Yeah. I love it. Okay, let's say, so we grant you have an event planner, you have a graduation ceremony planner who's going to do some of the things we just described, and it's whoever you want it to be, so it's the perfect person. Is there somebody else that you're getting involved with this?
I'll say this one just because I know I have this one, but my secretary has it upon herself to make sure the seniors are ordering their regalia. She keeps track of them. She steams them. That's kind of become something that she has owned. So I have that, and to not have that would be torturous. You have seniors that ask for their regalia ahead of time to get senior pictures, and and it would be a horrible thing that when they go out the day before graduation and something happens to the regalia, goes kaplooey. But that person has the plan. They know exactly what needs to happen with that regalia. They've kept track of it. So that is a valuable position, an invaluable position that I can't imagine trying to do without.
Which again, that's something that a first year graduation administrator thinking like, oh wait, they're wearing a 5'8" to 5'10" and she's 5'2". That's not gonna. Who has done that? And for schools with 50 of these students, who's checking on those things? Is it coming out of the senior class advisor, so on and so forth? Like, this is a great note, point of emphasis. Make sure it's not you.
Yeah. I would say the other important individual, probably second most important to that event planner, would be a publicist. And this publicist is going to be responsible for kind of double checking all of the programs. I mean, designing programs would be wonderful too, but making sure everything is right on there, making sure that all the announcements going out are big, but then also ensuring that during the event, it is, whether we're live streaming, we're taking photos, what are we doing with those, and posting that kind of, all of that, to make sure that all takes place, because that is something so low on my priority list, but I know how important it is to the students and the parents, that they're going to be able to see this in years to come. So So that would be the other one that I think isn't as obvious, but through the years has become an extremely important position.
Well, what if anything, if I was just starting social media brand new, as a social media calendar for the year, right? I'm sitting down as a social media coordinator for a school, and I'm marking off key points I know I'm going to have coverage. I'm going to have the best pictures I'm going to have all year. Well, an obvious one of those is going to be senior high graduation. And I know I'm going to be busy the night of and the day after and the week after. Now, what's great is I'm going to have great content because I want to make sure I have those pictures, but I'm also just going to have to be really busy during that time. So yes, that publicist, that social media coordinator on point during that night. Again, because you don't want to be the one running around with the camera in your hand. At the very least, get a yearbook person around for that sort of thing. Anybody else that you would, I know there's a million others, but you're not going to, you played the music at this last one. That was special because that was your position with the students was worthwhile, but you weren't up there playing Pomp and Circumstance or at the beginning of the end, the recessional. That wasn't you. So
I will say it is really important to have multiple individuals that you'll go to for the playing of the piano for Pomp and Circumstance, because I don't think I have had 2 graduations in a row where I've used the same person. Just because you'll reach out to them and they're like, oh, I've got something going on. So you don't want to be stuck. So I'm thankful I've got 3 solid ones that I go back and forth with. The other thing is the one that I would go to the most, her children have been graduating every other year. So I try not to use her while her kids are graduating. But yeah, that has been a major, major blessing to know that if one doesn't work out, I've got 2 other options, so that's not ever going to be an issue. Cause that's, like you said, Pomp and Circumstance. If you don't have it, granted, you could, like I do with practices, you could, find a good orchestration of it and pump it into but then you just have to cut it off, and that's not really fun. But
all right, my turn. If I'm looking for someone to help with graduation, I'm definitely getting a person who comes in later. I don't want to clean up anything. I also need to make sure I am using the opportunity I have to hobnob. It is, again, on the calendar of the school, one of the biggest and baddest and the highest expression of what we do, and we're gonna invoke legal, and we're gonna invoke the deity. We're going to do all kinds of stuff that night. I want to be able to have that face forward and be the face and not apologize for it in so many ways. I really, that's a night I need to be focusing on that. So I need somebody behind to make sure if it's in a church, the church is reset for whatever's coming later on. If it's in another venue, I want somebody else coming in by to check to make sure that we're not going to have to pay extra fees because we didn't pick up enough or we didn't put the chairs away at the space we're using. If it's food, I should have, and really, you should have nothing to do with the food prep or the food passing outing or anything. You shouldn't be the one praying for the food or trying to coordinate you stepping off the stage, everybody going to the food, and all the students being with it. There should be, and again, maybe this is that planner, maybe this is a little bit of that planner, but I look at this more as like someone who is in charge, especially the cleanup. I'll just leave it there. I want a setup and a cleanup person. They're gonna make what was what is, and what is what was. I want that real. I want that real bad. All right, now we're sitting in the ceremony. Now we're sitting in the actual ceremony, or in leading. And I guess this is also a part of it. Are you leading every ceremony? Are you a part of it? Are you, is your principal doing a good bit? Are parents doing in this? What would you set as a priority for where your seat happens to be or where your booty is? Are you on the stage? Are you off the stage? Are you enjoying it without regalia? Are you you're being called up when you need to be called up and you're passing out something? Where do you stand? And then maybe what could you see besides just where you stand on this?
Yeah, when I started running graduations, I ran graduation. I was keeping the show going. I was start and finish. I was all the way through, but it's just this year now that I have a secondary principal, it makes sense that the secondary principal is involved in that program. So as head of school, to me, this is, as you were saying about hobnobbing, this is the time to be the head of the school, to be welcoming, leading, not necessarily having to be a part of the entire program, so to speak, but I think at the very least, the start and the finish, having that stamp of authority. I think it's important to involve school board. I think it's important to involve any faculty that have a reasonable uh, authority position within the ceremony if you can. So I think there are others that can be involved, that need to be involved. It doesn't have to all be you. And that goes back to it takes a reasonable burden off when you're not having to do literally everything.
Absolutely.
So when it comes to ceremony, I think you need to have a rather prominent spot, but it doesn't have to be holding the reins the whole time.
Not the whole time. Absolutely not the whole time. And graduation ceremonies are set up to allow for someone to come up and do the speaking, someone up to do the invocation, the benediction, someone to read off the award, someone to do this. You need to be up there. You need to be shaking hands and passing out diploma. But yeah, there's a lot of opportunities for the ceremony itself to be split up and to be farmed out to different people. Okay, that's great. Now, so you would see yourself having matured in your role, having more people around you, as not having to be up in the center, but making sure that you are at the center of the stage at some point, probably a couple times throughout the ceremony itself. When you aren't up there and you are able to consider, the breadth of what you're doing, are you in the space where people are gathering and shaking hands to start? Do you find it more meaningful to be with the seniors, where my mind would be in trying to find especially the seniors and their parents? But there's going to be people, there's always people at those graduations that you either don't expect to be there, or if you don't say something to them, it's a political problem. Like there's a social issue if you don't make your way over to them and talk to them. So maybe talk us through beginning to end what you would see as, this is where I really need to prioritize being.
So I have a history in dramatic productions. So when it comes to before the show, you don't show your face before the show. You are prepping, you are making sure everybody else is ready to go. You're behind the scenes. I'm not a hide from everybody, but I am definitely all business prior to that starting gun. Does anybody else start their graduation with a gun? Probably. Maybe that'd be something that'd be interesting.
No. Hopefully nobody else does. Maybe
No,
Kentucky.
we shouldn't say
Downs
nobody
High.
else because now people
Yeah,
think
nobody
we
else
do.
does.
We don't
Yeah.
actually start with a
Yeah,
gun.
nobody.
Just-
Kentucky Derby High School.
Yeah.
Or so the Preakness,
Yeah.
Preakness Preparatory. Maybe they do, but not.
But anyway, so yeah, beforehand, I typically am very much with the seniors, reminding them of the things that we've gone through, we've practiced, and maybe we practiced our special music, ahead of time. So there's a lot of busyness ahead of the ceremony. Once the ceremony gets going, I've been a part of ceremonies where we've done both, being on stage, being off stage. I'm very much more of the being off stage now. Whenever the seniors get up on stage, I want them to be the focal point. So during our salutatorian or valedictorian addresses, they're the only ones on stage. Everybody's giving them their full attention. When they're getting awards, they're there. So I'm not an on the stage kind of guy right now, but I think it kind of does depend on your setting. If you have to walk a mile to get to the closest seat from your platform, then obviously
Yeah.
put a chair up on the platform. But that's right now, that's where it is. And I want to leave the time afterwards, as you were saying, for hobnobbing, because I want to make it easy for, first of all, everybody's there for the graduates. They're not there for me. They're not there for the teachers, but they are going to want to say something, thank maybe the faculty. So I do want to make sure that it's set up easily, that And once they've greeted the graduates and they're looking around for something else to do, then you're available and you're there. I had some great conversations at the end of our graduation this year, just because of that. Yeah, I just once we're done, I'm done and I'm available. That is the key. Be done and be available.
If I was going to offer an alternative opinion, I wasn't in the drama necessarily, and I would see a lot of value in that, seeing people come in, seeing people taking the opportunity to talk to those parents. I think there's more of an opportunity to talk to parents beforehand than there is afterwards. Those parents have the people, their families are with them. There's a lot of pull on the families. Now they're going to want to find you perhaps and say thank you, but there's probably less pull on the parents prior to than there is after,
Sure.
so long as you have good seating. So maybe there's an alternative. Not maybe, there is. There's an alternative
There's
opinion for you
always an
that
alternative.
yeah, you could make great use of that time prior. It doesn't have to be solely time spent afterwards, or there could be a good call for you to take the time prior to be out there with them. The Either way though, and I'll always think this. Either way, it's like my wedding day. It went way faster than I expected it to. And I
Yeah.
remember far less than I should remember about it. And I remember during it things I should have done in preparation for it. And here's the one that always gets me. I have a bad memory for details as concerns things like, oh, I should have an anecdote ready for each one of these graduates. An interaction I had with each, because at some point I'm going to look down and want to say something snarky about one of them, or I'm going to want to take, and again, schools of 300 graduates, I get it. Far more difficult for you, something that you don't have to worry about so much. But for the majority of our Christian schools out there, we're dealing with seniors, and we're dealing with a number that is very attainable to us. And this should be, we kind of do have an anecdote of just about every single one of them as they make their way across the stage. Not that you say that during them, but when we see them, we have the opportunity to say, hey, I remember when I was next to them in the basketball game, and we had a conversation about, life at that point, whatever it happens to be. And I forget some of those things until I'm in the moment. And that's not helpful. I should have prepared prior. So making sure I'm there prior, making sure I'm thinking about those things beforehand, taking a time to make sure I have those at the ready to have that conversation with the students, or perhaps with their parents, or those who are there to celebrate with them. I sadly probably have to do even a little bit more prep than that and remind myself of certain parents' names and certain key, if we have people that are showing up for this, the names of certain people that are showing up, I'm expecting to be there because so-and-so's there. And maybe there's a church representative that's not the host church, and so you got the pastor so-and-so coming, and maybe there's a donor that's going to be there. So it doesn't always have to be political. The focus needs to be on the students, but as the focus is on the students, you need to know that you're still working.
Yep.
We're still working that night, and that's going to include making sure. That's so cute. He's sort of my shoulder. That's going to include making sure that people are seen and felt seen. Okay. Shh. Make sure that people, yeah, exactly. Make sure that people felt seen that are there, and you need to take advantage of the opportunities to do that.
Yeah, the one thing I would add to the end of this that has been invaluable to me is over the years I've developed a script. This script, we could call it the football. It is the most important piece
like
of
that.
information in the entire ceremony, because I have literally everything that needs to be said from the platform written down in the sheet protectors that is just simply flipped. So, the two speeches don't have to be, they don't have to have the responsibility of printing those off and bring them with them. It's right there on the podium when they come up for them. If you have other people coming to present things, then they flip, just to their page and they're flipping to the next person. And that has been a really invaluable element to keeping this ceremony flowing, and it allows me to get into it, weeks, months ahead of time and see, okay, time to update this stuff, what went well, what didn't go well, and at the end of graduation, I can make those notes in that script to say, hey, next time let's do this a little bit different, or let's switch the order of this, and that just makes it a whole lot easier to make sure you're prepared for the next graduation.
Love that. The nuclear football, but for graduation, it's got to be there. And maybe you have names in that. Like you said, some of those are read off. I mean, you have board members, whatever it happens to be, that anything that's not normal, right? Anything that's not necessarily what you are usually hearing or saying or thinking could well need to be written down so that you're not, and not that you don't fumble through reading things, because we often fumble through reading things too. All right, we've talked about this enough. Let's move along. We're going to talk about our Christian Administrator Spotlight. That's going out to Jared Bender. Jared Bender is the elementary principal of Plum Creek Academy. We've mentioned them before, but Plum Creek Academy in Dyer, Indiana. And Jared, Matt's going to pray for you now.
That's great. Lord, thank you so much for Jared and the contribution he has been making there at Plum Creek, and I pray that their year is wrapping up, or has wrapped up strongly, and as he's looking to the next year, may the summer be a time to be able to relax, to be rejuvenated, to be able to accomplish goals that he wishes to meet, and in preparation of next school year, just bring him the resources, the support that he needs, just to continue his ministry, all to your honor and glory. We pray this in Jesus' name. Amen.
Amen. All right, folks, thanks for growing with us today.
We want to thank you for listening. We're honored that you spend this time with us each week. Our heart is to bring you practical conversations and resources that really serve you as a Christian school leader. One of the best ways you can help us spread the word is by leaving us a review and sharing the podcast with other Christian school principals you're connected with. You can also follow us on Facebook and Instagram. Join the conversation and share any posts that resonate with you. Every share makes a difference in helping more leaders find encouragement and practical tools. And remember, the podcast is just one way we help. We also love serving schools through speaking and workshops. Our keynotes and sessions are designed to give you actionable strategies you can take back to your team and implement right away. If you'd like more details, just send us an email at info@christianprinciplespodcast.com. We'd love to connect. Until next time, thanks for joining us on the Christian Principles Podcast.